Okay, we might make a start on this, which is the second training session of the day. So you're all very welcome, everybody attending through this Zoom webinar, and also everybody who is watching on YouTube. And thanks for taking the time to come along to the session today, which is essentially a refresher on Canvas for semester 1, 2021. So this session is basically about Canvas. If you're not familiar with Canvas, it's CIT's virtual learning environment, or VLE. All staff and students have access and should be enrolled on the relevant modules. And the point of Canvas, the point of any virtual learning environment, is that it can be used for sharing resources, receiving assessment files, and communicating with students. And over the last number of years, the Department of TEL has also integrated a lot of systems into Canvas. So these include live online lecturing, they include anti-plagiarism software, automated assessments, learning analytics, and digital attendance tools. And one other thing to note, in case it's of use to you, is that Canvas provides mobile apps on both Android and iOS for both staff and students. So if that is of interest to anybody. And this is a graphic which I'm sure you may have seen already in Garrod's information sessions, which were held, I think, last week. But the notion here, really, or what this is attempting to explain, is that all of the various elements which are available, all of the various TEL tools and TEL software and TEL features which are available, are for the most part integrated into Canvas. So the intention with Canvas is that Canvas is something of a hub which is available to all staff and students. And through Canvas, all of the various elements which might be of use to you are accessible. And I suppose that's most true, particularly this year, for the Zoom, for live online lecturing, which, thanks to the efforts of the TEL team and Shane Cronin in particular, has really been integrated very deeply into Canvas. So, in terms of this particular session, what I would like to do, or what I would like to cover, is not Zoom, because we've already done sessions on that, although we will be doing plenty more, and the recordings for that are available. So, just in case anyone is coming to see, to learn how to use Zoom, there will be recordings made available for that. This session is more of a refresher on Canvas. Some things have changed from previous years, but for the most part, the use of Canvas remains mainly the same. And the intention that I have for the session today is that you would know how to use your Canvas modules for teaching students and for being able to, I suppose, provide them with information, guidance, kind of signpost them, so on and so forth. But also that you yourself would know how to use Canvas for your own kind of teaching purposes. And I suppose that you can get the module set up in such a way that it's ready for students and yourself to begin using it as soon as they access it. So, what I'd like to cover in the sessions today is, to achieve that goal, is how to log into Canvas, how to access your modules. When you're in a module, then the module interface, which will include the elements listed there, publishing, which is an important step if you're using Canvas. And also, I'd like to look at copying over previous year's content. So within Canvas, it is possible, if, for example, I ran a module last year and I know that I'll be reusing a lot of the same material, a lot of the same kind of structure that I did last year, instead of having to upload everything and to set everything back up the same way I did last year, I can simply copy over the content, the structure, so on and so forth, from a previous year's module into the current one for semester 1, 2021. And then what I'll be talking about towards the end is some supports which are available to all CIT staff and students, and we'll finish off the session with some questions and answers. So if anybody does have any questions, either within the Zoom webinar or over YouTube, I'd ask the Zoom participants to use the Q&A feature inside in Zoom, and I would ask anyone watching over YouTube to use the live chat feature at the bottom of the YouTube video if you have any questions. But we'll kind of have dedicated time at the end for a questions and answers session. And I'm hoping this entire presentation will take no more than a half hour of everybody's time. So Just in terms of, I suppose, getting into Canvas, the first step would be logging in. So if people aren't familiar with Canvas, you can log into Canvas using the URL on the right-hand side of the slide there, https://cit.instructure.com. So that's generally the quickest and easiest way to get into the Canvas system. Now, if you have a hard time remembering that, what you can always do is if you go to tel.cit.ie, at the top of the screen there is an option to log into Canvas, and on the homepage as well, there's a link into the Canvas VLE as well. So if you have any difficulties remembering, maybe try to remember tel.cit.ie, and you'll be able to log into Canvas from there. When you click on either of those links, or if you go to cit.instructure.com, you'll be asked to log in basically using your staff email and password. So the same credentials that you would use to log into your staff email, that is what you would be using to get into Canvas. And after you've logged into that, you will be within the Canvas interface, which I'm demonstrating here. Now, in terms of this initial page that you land on, this is called the dashboard within Canvas, and it is here that all of your modules, kind of your active modules and your forthcoming modules, will be displayed. Just in terms of the interface, you'll notice along the left-hand side, there's a menu, and that's the main kind of navigation menu within Canvas. So some of the options which would be available to you here include your account, your dashboard, your modules, which I'll speak on in a bit, a calendar system, an inbox, which is a way of messaging students through Canvas, Commons, which is an OER kind of resource for Canvas users. We'll be talking about that and OERs in general over the forthcoming few weeks, and also the help option, which is available to you here. And I'll come back to that later in this session. But within the dashboard, what you should see is your modules, and that is divided into two areas, your published modules and your unpublished modules. Now, we'll be discussing kind of the process of publishing a little later in this session. But essentially, all you need to know at the moment is that published modules are modules that are visible to students. Unpublished modules are modules which are invisible to students. So if something is published within Canvas, basically means that students can see it. If it's unpublished, it means that you as a teacher have access, but students can't see it yet. So from a student perspective, if they landed into this page and they were enrolled in the same courses as you, they'd only see this module here because it's published. One other thing to look out for on your dashboard is the information which is contained in the kind of module box inside here. So one thing in particular to look out for is this item here, which lists the year, the academic year, and the semester. So if I scroll down the page a bit here, I can see that this module is belongs to the term semester 3. So this isn't something which I'm going to have to worry about until until semester 3 actually rolls around. Now, what you might find as well is that not all of the modules which you would have done last year will be visible here. Only the modules which belong to what's known as an active term, which is basically semester 1, 2021 right now, or future semesters for this coming academic year will be visible on the dashboard. So basically the dashboard is going to show the modules I'm going to have for academic year 2021. If I wanted to get at previous modules, modules from a previous academic year, what I can do to access this, I suppose, the full list of all of my modules, is I can click on this module item over on the left-hand side of the screen in the left-hand kind of Canvas navigation area. And I'll get some of the modules listed here, but what I really want here is this option for all modules. So if I click into this, what this does is it provides me with my current modules, which are listed here, but also all of my past enrollments and also some of my future enrollments. So if I wanted to access a module which I delivered in, let's say, the academic year 2018-19, I just look under past enrollments and that would be available here. So I'm going to have the name of the module, I'm going to have the term it belongs to, which is worth looking out for just to identify what year these belong to, whether I'm enrolled as a teacher, as a student, and whether it's been published or not. If it's not published, it'll be kind of highlighted in that kind of red color. Now, what might happen if I'm involved in an awful lot of modules is that my dashboard here can become quite unwieldy. So let's say if I'm going to be teaching across 20 modules this semester, 12 modules next semester, it's going to mean that I'm going to be seeing an awful lot of content here. One way that I can manage that for myself is if I go into the modules area and I go into all modules, what I can basically do here is to the left-hand side of each of these modules, there's a star option. Now, by default on the dashboard, kind of all of the modules for the academic year are going to be displayed by default. If I want to specify to Canvas what modules I want showing up on my dashboard, what I can do is I can simply click on the star option here. And you see when I've done that, it turns orange. So by doing this, what I can do is I can identify to Canvas the modules that I want to appear visible on my homepage. And if we go back to the dashboard, I guess that didn't exactly change the ones because I somehow managed to select the exact same two modules that were there. But if I go back to the dashboard now, generally when you have these kind of modules starred, what you'll see is that only the modules which you've starred here will appear on the dashboard. It's a little hard to display right now, maybe because I don't have a huge amount of modules for the coming semester. But essentially, if you go into the all modules area and you begin clicking on the star icon for particular modules, Canvas will show only the modules that are starred. So even for example, like this, a module which is part of this particular academic year, if I haven't starred it on the dashboard, I'll only see the modules that I've starred. So if you do have a lot of modules and you don't want them all to show up in your dashboard for you, just click into the modules area, go into all modules, and once you begin starring them, it'll essentially kind of wipe the dashboard clean and it will only show the modules that you've starred here. If I don't have anything starred, what I will do is it will show all of the modules for the coming academic year. When I've done that, I can access the module that I want by simply clicking into it. So you can see here that within this particular module, there's a number of options available to me. So in terms of the module interface, there's a number of things to maybe be aware of. The first thing to be aware of is the module navigation menu, which is available on the left-hand side here. So this is really the how you kind of move to the different areas in your module. One thing, so for example, if I want to enter into Zoom so I can begin setting up live online classes, I just click on the Zoom item on the left-hand menu. If I want to get into the units area, which is where I would set up kind of files and items and make those available to students, I click into units. Same for assignments, discussions, chat, so on and so forth. So the way you move through a particular module is using this left-hand module navigation menu. You'll notice as well that some of the menu items here have a kind of this kind of eye with a line kind of icon through them. Now, what this means is that basically these items are invisible to students. So they are visible to me as an instructor, but if a student enters into the module, they won't be able to see these. Now, what we have done for semester 1 2021 is we have pushed a particular template. So this kind of setup in terms of what's hidden and not to all new modules inside in Canvas. I suppose this has been done on kind of the basis of trying to control what students maybe should and should not have access to. But if you wish to, you can adjust these navigation items. We don't necessarily recommend that you do, but if you did want to do that, you can do so by going into the settings item here at the bottom of the module navigation menu, and you can go to the navigation area. And inside here, what you can do is you can decide what in the left-hand menu is visible or hidden. So for example, if I don't want new analytics to be visible, I simply drag that down to the lower half of the screen here, and anything which is appearing under here will basically be hidden from students. So we can see new analytics there. If I hit save at the bottom of the page, we can see when we go back into the module area that that is now hidden from students. Similarly, if we go back into the settings area and we want to make certain items visible, say for example, we want to make files visible, we can drag that up to the top of the screen, and when we hit save, the files item then, which is hidden here, will be visible to students. Now, one very useful feature just in terms of this particular module is or in terms of modules within Canvas, is the ability to enter into Student View. What Student View allows you to do is Student View basically allows you to see what the module is like from a student's perspective. So while, as I outlined here, all of the different elements which are available here are either are entirely visible to me, and there's indicators what is not visible to students. If I want to be sure in terms of what students can or cannot see, I can click on the home page and I can click on the student view over here. And what this will do is it will basically log me in as a student. What this will allow me to do is basically I can see from a student perspective how the module looks. You can notice here that kind of only the items which I flagged as visible to students will be available here. So through this, it's possible for me to identify what students see or what students do not see. And through the student view, I can double check that. I can make sure that students are seeing exactly what it is that I want them to see. So with that in mind, it's never a bad idea to maybe on occasion move into student view just to make sure that students are seeing exactly what you want them to see. Now, one other useful feature for the coming semester is the use of this syllabus item over in the module menu. What the syllabus item does is basically it provides something of an overview of the coming semester for students. So what the syllabus will do is by default it will have this kind of standard text. um, it will have a link to the Canvas mobile app for students, and it'll have a link for students to some resources on online learning. Over here, it'll have a calendar, and it will also have a kind of breakdown of assignments. Beneath that, then, it'll also have a list of important dates which students should be aware of. So for example, if I've created an assignment, which I already have within this module, all of this will be displayed to students in this area down here. So what is important in terms of the syllabus is that you maybe try and make use of it as a tool for, I suppose, welcoming students, for giving students a bit of an overview of what the module is about. Now, the way that you can do that, like as I mentioned, by default, this kind of text will be visible or will be in here by default. But what I might want to do is if I click on the edit button up here, what I can do is I can change this text according to what I want. So one approach I might take with this, for example, is I might go to modules.cit.ie. I might grab the module descriptor or the course description, and I might copy and paste that in here. And what that will do, obviously, is it will present students with the kind of formal CIT outline of what this module involves, the assessments, the kind of weighting, so on and so forth. But what I suppose I have found quite useful in terms of the module syllabus myself is maybe for you, in your own words, to try and give something of a description to the students in terms of what the module will involve, what you would like the module to do for them, the kind of approach that you will be taking. I suppose really in your own words, a description of the module and what you want or what you feel or what the module should do for students. So something like the syllabus is a very useful tool. I suppose it's a useful place for students to go first off in order to see the kind of deadlines that are coming up for them or important events that will be shown inside in the lower half of the syllabus area. But it's also a useful space just for you to give, I suppose, in your own words, what you want the module to do for students. And if I hit the update syllabus button inside here, you can see that that changes. So the syllabus is a useful feature just, I suppose, as something of a landing page for students. Now, on the subject of landing pages, if we go back to our home page here, there are a couple of there's a couple of choices that you can use for your homepage within your Canvas module. The way you can do that is by clicking on this choose homepage button over on the right hand side of the module here. If I click on this, what this will let me do is it will bring up a pop-up, and I can identify what essentially what page I want the students to see, or what area of the module I want the students to see when they enter into the module first. So for example, if I was happy with my syllabus, if I want that to be kind of the first thing the students see when they enter into the syllabus, I can click syllabus here, I can save that, and on the homepage then we can see that the syllabus is appearing for the students. If I want the students, the first page the students see to be the list of units or an activity stream, which is essentially just kind of a list of what has happened in the module kind of week to week, I can select those. And the way we've set this, the semester 1 2021 modules up, is that any announcements which have been put out, and I'll talk about those in a moment, will be appearing above that kind of homepage as well. So the suggestion is really that kind of when the students lands into the page, that you can really signpost them, or you can really determine what it is they should see and what it is they I suppose kind of where they go next. So if I'm happy enough with kind of the module that I've got set up to date, one useful feature which I can do is I can begin uploading files and kind of putting a bit of a structure on the module in question. So for example, the way that I would do that is through this units area over here. Now, you might find by default units is invisible to students, and the reason that it's invisible to students is because essentially there's nothing in here. So as soon as I begin adding content to the units area, it'll become visible. You don't need to worry too much about going into navigation and making it into a visible item. When I add content, it'll become visible to students as is. The way that units can be structured, or this area can be structured inside in Canvas, is through units and files, assignments, links, so on and so forth, which go into units. You can basically think about units in Canvas as folders. They're kind of where things are stored. So I can create a unit by clicking on this create new unit here, or on this red plus unit button up here. It serves much the same purpose. If I click into it, I can give that unit a name. Now, it's up to yourselves how you might want to structure your module. What I always tend to do is I usually just go week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, so on and so forth. So if I create a unit called week 1, I can see that that has been created, and immediately it's giving me a choice to add files to that. So one step which you might do when you first enter into your module is to go into a particular unit, and you can do it kind of week to week, but if you'd like to, you can go in, you can go week 1, week 2, week 3, so on and so forth. Some approaches other people take is they might go by subject matter. So they might kind of group all of the subject matter relating to a specific part of the course into a particular unit and call that, for example, project management or structural load or so on and so forth. But, I suppose I have found the kind of easiest approach for everybody, really, particularly me, because it helps me remember things, is to go kind of week by week. Now, when I've got my unit created, what I can do is I can begin adding material under that unit. One way in which I can do that is I can just drag and drop files in here, or I can click on this and it will give me the ability to upload a file directly. Another way that I can add material to a particular unit is if I click on the plus button over here to the right hand side of a particular unit. What this will bring up is this will bring up a drop down. Now, if I drag and drop stuff in here, it will add a file to this unit. And for the most part, I think that's what most people, staff and students, would like, to be able to share their files under this particular unit. But there are other options inside in Canvas for adding additional material to a particular unit. So if I click on the plus button here, for example, what I can do is I can select from this drop down whether I want to add a file, whether I want to add an assignment, a discussion, a text header, a URL, an external tool, so on and so forth. So by varying up what I put into a unit, I can really signpost students to particular areas of the module, or I can provide them with very specific kind of function or information, or so on and so forth. So for example, if I wanted to upload a file, what this will do is it will bring up this page. Now, if I want to add a new file, I simply click New File at the top of the page. But you can see here under Course Files and under Course Files Uploaded Media, basically any material which I have already uploaded into this unit, I can add through here as well. So for example, I might want to add a new file, in which case I can click the button that appears here and I can upload a file, the same as I've done already, or else I can grab an existing file which I've uploaded, click Add Item, and that will upload that file into this unit for me as well. And the same kind of relates to any discussion items that I've created, any pages that I might want to make. If I've created an assignment, I can add that assignment in here, or else I can always create a new assignment, a new page. The option to create a new one is always at the top of that list. But the main thing I think that most people will be looking to do is to add files into their unit, which they can do through this kind of process here. Now, the ability to add in particular files through this method is fine, but if I'm adding a lot of files, or I want to add a lot of files to a particular unit, it's quite laborious to go one by one. So one way of being able to overcome this is if I click into the files area, what I can do here is if I want to, I can organize all of the various files that I've made that I want to uh, I suppose, be available in this unit. I can drag them around. I can create a folder for files, so on and so forth. But what I can do in particular is if I click on the plus upload button here, what I can do is I can grab a number of different files and I can upload all of those at once. And what this means is that then when I go back into my units area, if I want to grab any of those files or any number of those files, I can select File, I can grab those. If I want to, I can select multiple ones and add items. So if you do have a lot of files to upload, we would recommend you go into the files area, you upload all of the files at once, and then you can pull them out for the specific weeks as you so wish. If you do have a lot of files in this area, one item as well in the unit which might be of use to you is this option for a text header. Which basically allows you to put in kind of, you can think of it almost like a subfolder, a folder within a folder. I might call this, for example, related to, let's say, for example, I'll call this week 1 graphics. And you can see that appears here. If I want to, I can also indent items in my kind of files area, and that can be useful just for creating excuse me, a bit of a kind of visual perspective and a bit of visual consistency. So anything under week 1 graphics, I'm going to indent so that they kind of stand out a little bit from the rest of the folder, or it creates this kind of consistency where people can see that all of the week 1 graphics, anything under there is kind of pushed to the right a small bit. Now you might have noticed one item which is occurring throughout the module is these kind of green ticks or lack thereof. Now, within Canvas, what this essentially refers to is the notion of publishing, which is something that I mentioned earlier. Within Canvas, there is the option to create a, or to publish a module or not publish a module. We saw that in our dashboard. If we jump back in there 2 seconds, we can see here that, again, there is the notion of published modules or unpublished modules. If I briefly jump into an unpublished module, what you will see is that over on the right hand side here, there is an indicator for module status. And at the moment, that has been set to unpublished. When a module is unpublished, that means that a student can't see it. It won't show up on their dashboard. It won't kind of show up anywhere for them. And that is maybe something to be aware of if a student does get onto, let's say you filled out your Canvas course, you've done your syllabus, you've uploaded all your files, but if students are getting onto you to say that they can't see that module, it might be the case that it's unpublished. So that's no harm to always kind of check. And student view won't let you see if a module is published or unpublished. So again, it's maybe no harm just to kind of be aware of that if you are using student view. If I do want to publish my module, let's say I set up my module, I'm kind of glad to make it available to students. All I have to do to make it available is click on this publish button. And you can see there that it moves from the red kind of unpublished item to the green published item. And this basically means that students will be able to see this module within their dashboard. If I want to make it unavailable for a couple of minutes, just while I tidy something up, I can unpublish it again. And you can see here that that will be invisible to students now. If we hop back into our other module, as well as publishing modules themselves, there is also the option to publish individual items within modules. So let's say we have our week 1, week 2, week 3 all kind of set up here. If I was to hop into student view, now what I am going to do just very briefly is I'm just going to make sure that the units area is published. Okay. And what I'll do altogether is I will make the homepage for the module units, which it already is. So if I hop into student view, excuse me, you can see here that is coming up that no units have been defined for this unit, even though I've already set all of those up. Now, the reason for this is that within Canvas, individual items which are published will have a green tick to the right-hand side of them. And this counts for both individual files and it counts for units as well. The issue which arises is that if a particular item doesn't have a green tick against it, if it has this kind of strike through icon, it means that it's unpublished and it means that students can't see it. So the same approach or the same kind of precedence as the publishing modules themselves. So when I am happy with a particular unit, with a particular file, and I want to make it available to student, it is important to maybe get into the habit of just making sure that you've published the units and the individual items in question. So you just have to maybe try and get into the habit of keeping an eye out for that green tick, which indicates that a particular unit, that a particular file has been published within Canvas. And if I hop into student view here, we can see that now these are appearing for me. So with the whole kind of area of publishing, it's a bit of a pain, but it does give you quite a bit of control over what students can and cannot see. So it is useful just being able to identify whether a module is published, unpublished, and whether individual items within a module are unpublished or not published. And if I want to as well, I can always delete any units, any files that I've uploaded simply by clicking on this menu icon, which is available over to the right-hand side of a unit or of a particular file. And from here, I can edit it, duplicate it, send it, so on and so forth, or I can delete it if I so wish. And that will get rid of particular files, particular units for me. Alternatively, if I want to, I can drag things around using these kind of controls over to the left-hand side of a unit or over to the left-hand side of a file, and that will basically let me drag things up and down so that I can rearrange the various units, the various files, as I so wish. So if we have that much done, if we are able to enter into our unit, if we've set up our syllabus, we've added our files, we have created the various units according to week, and so on and so forth, we've made sure that our module is published, and we've made sure that the various kind of files within the units and the the units and the files have been published as well. We've checked all of that through student view, and we've also selected a home page so the students know, so that we know exactly where students are going to land when they enter into the module. So one other item which might be useful for you just to kind of get the semester rolling is the ability to add an announcement or a communication for students. Now, there's a number of different ways in which you can communicate with students through Canvas. We'll be running additional kind of training sessions on those over the next couple of weeks. You can use the inbox to send private messages. You can use a chat for kind of live text-based communication. But one particularly useful feature is announcements. What announcements essentially allow you to do is they allow you to kind of broadcast a message to students. If we were to think about this in kind of a face-to-face context, what it would mean is that, it is, I guess, the equivalent of me coming into the classroom and making a big announcement to all of the students who are there that there's going to be an assignment next week, or that I've changed the deadline, or I'm not going to be able to make it to class later in the week. So this is what they have to do kind of by themselves. So the other advantage of an announcement, I guess, is that kind of whatever homepage you select, when students come in, the announcement is going to be available, or the most recent announcement is going to be visible to them up here. And that is important just in terms of when I create an announcement, first off, it will be visible on the homepage. Second off, if students go into the announcements area here, they'll see a record of all the announcements which I've given. And thirdly, for the most part, when I create a new announcement, students get a notification on it. So Canvas will send a notification, depending on the student's preference, to their email, or else if they have, for example, the Canvas student app, to the app. So an announcement is a very good way of broadcasting important information to students. If I was looking to send a student a one-on-one message, let's say there was some sensitive information involved, I would use the inbox, or I would send them an email. But announcements are excellent for kind of broadcasting information to students. So if I go into the announcements area, I can create a new announcement. All of the announcements I've already created will be listed here. But if I want to create a new announcement, I can click on the red plus announcement button up here. And that will allow me to create a new announcement. So same as kind of a standard kind of email message, what I would do is I would give it a title, let's say plan for the coming semester. And inside in this area here, I would write the body of the announcement. Now, one very useful feature inside in this kind of announcement area, and it's not limited to announcements, you can kind of see the same kind of features. If I just very quickly hop into the editing area for the syllabus, you can see this kind of menu of options, which is available to me at the top of the content area here. Now, why this is useful is that there's a number of options to me which can make kind of an announcement, a syllabus, a page, an assignment, basically anywhere where you see this kind of list of kind of options along the top. It can give me a lot of options in terms of being able to signpost students, or being able to send students to particular areas of the module, or give them access to files, or so on and so forth. And I guess all of this has the effect of making it very clear to students what I want them to do, where I want them to go, what files I want them to work with, so on and so forth. Now, the way that I can do that is I have all my standard kind of editing or kind of formatting tools available here. But what I also have are a couple of options over along here. So if I want to, I can add in an external link. So that might be to www.cit.ie. I can add in an image. I can add in media. And a very useful one here is the ability to upload a document. So I might say, for example, this is the brief for the first assessment. And what I can do here is, let's say I will highlight the word brief. If I click on this icon up here, what this will let me do is it will let me upload a document. Now I can also select a module document if it's something that I've already uploaded to the files area. But let's just say I want to upload a document. That will give me this pop-up. I will link to a particular PDF. I will press submit. And what that has done, as you can see there, is it's basically added a link to the text that I've highlighted with that particular PDF. So that means when the student comes into this announcement, if they click on the word brief, then they will automatically be asked to download or to view the PDF in question. What I can also do as well is, let's say I want to highlight the first assessment area. What I can do is I can click up on this links area here. Now I can put in an external link, which is a link, like I mentioned, to cit.ie or Google or whatever. If I select module links, what this will basically allow me to do is it will allow me to link to a very specific area of the course. Now, if I wanted to, I could send them to, for example, the assignments page, or the kind of grades page, all of these items which are over on the left-hand side. But if I've already created, let's say, an assignment, what I can do is I can click on the assignments area up here, and I can identify the assignment that I want them specifically to submit to. I have a number of additional options. If I want to, like I said, add in external links, if I want to upload an image, I can grab an image, or I can upload an existing module image. There are options here in terms of being able to record media directly. So if I don't want to use text, for example, if I don't want to be typing stuff in, I could record a video message directly into Canvas. We'll cover that in a later session. I can, as I mentioned, upload documents, and there's also an option to embed YouTube videos, and something which we'll be getting into at a later session. There's options here in terms of additional LTI plugins. When I'm happy with my announcement, however, what I can do is I can decide who I want to post it to. Generally, you can leave this as all sections. We'll be dealing with kind of different sections, which is essentially different kind of groups of students in a later session, but that requires a little bit of setup. If I want to, I can attach a file to this particular announcement. One useful feature is that I can delay posting. And why this is useful is, let's say I want to be sure to send an announcement out to students at the beginning of every week for the coming semester. If I wanted this to be the announcement for week 2, what I could do is I could click the delay posting option. I can decide I want this to go out on Monday the 21st at 12 o'clock. And I suppose the advantage of something like this is basically that kind of, I can sit down in Canvas, and instead of having to remember every Monday to write an announcement to students, I can sit down and in one sitting write out, let's say, 10 announcements that I want to go out, and identify when I want them to go out. And then I don't have to worry about sending an announcement for the rest of the semester. Just for the purposes of today, we'll just untick that. You don't really have to worry about any of the remaining options. And when I hit save, that announcement should be sent out. The benefit of this from a student perspective is when they land into the homepage, it's immediately identified to them. They should also get a notification to their email or to the app. And I suppose the benefit of being able to kind of upload the document, of being able to add in the links, is that when they come in here, they can immediately click on this, and they're given the right PDF that I want them to be looking at. They can click on this, and they'll be sent specifically to the assignment that I want them to work on. So the advantage of being able to use an announcement and being able to use the kind of content editing features there is that you can really pinpoint where you want students to go, what you want them to work with, so on and so forth. And again, if I was to go into my syllabus and set that up correctly, this can be useful for me just in terms of being able to go, you will do 2 announcements for this semester, and then we'll click on the module links. We'll pick assignment 1 and module links, assignment 2. Be sure to read this brief, and here's a link to it, so on and so forth. So that ability to be able to kind of link up particular parts of the module is very effective in just being able to kind of identify to students what you want them to do, where you want them to go. And I guess one thing maybe worth bearing in mind for the coming semester, and I'm aware that it's a very unusual situation we all find ourselves in terms of teaching, but maybe one thing to bear in mind is, I think the more of this you can do, the more communication, the more direction, the more kind of structure you can give students, I think the better off that they will be, for the simple reason that kind of typically kind of, there's a certain amount of structure that comes with face-to-face kind of teaching. They know what classroom to go to, they know they have to sit there and listen, but that might be a little bit lacking this coming semester. So the more communication, the more signposting, the more direction and guidance you can give students, I think the better. And a final thing that I would like to show you, just in case it is of use, is if you have already created if you have already, let's say if I've already taught this module the last academic year, one thing which I can do as well is, instead of having to set it up the same way that I did last year, the same units, the same files, the same whatever, what I can do is I can basically, if I go into the settings area and I click over here on import module content, what this will allow me to do is it basically will allow me to import all of the content from a previous module, a module from a previous academic year, into this one. So what I might do, for example, is when I click on the import content option, from the drop down, I would select copy a Canvas module. What I can do then is I can look for the module in question. So if you type in just a small bit of text, it will identify to you the list of modules which might correspond, and you can select the module in question. I have an additional option here then in terms of how much or how little of the other module I want to bring in. I can select all content, which means it's going to bring in absolutely everything, all the files, all the units, all the structure from the previous module, or else I can select to import specific content. If I want to as well, if I'm going to be importing assignments, so on and so forth, obviously they're going to be dated according to the previous academic year. So I can tick this box if I want to adjust dates, events, and events and due dates for the particular assignments. But let's say if I just want to select specific content and I don't want to bother with that just yet, I click on the import option here. And you'll see here that this identifies that this is in the process of copying over. But if I select to import specific content, there'll also be this red box here that I have to tick. And from here, I can identify the specific items that I want to bring over. So for me, for example, I want to bring over the units. I don't want to bring over the assignments because I'm going to set them up from scratch. I don't want to bring over the discussion topics, which is an area which we'll cover in future kind of training sessions for peer discussion, because they're going to be students from last year. I don't want to bring in the pages. I don't want to bring in the announcements. I don't want to bring in the files. So I'm just going to bring in the units. I'm going to click select content. And you can see there that that is now queued, and I will get an email update when that has been completed. Or if I have time on my hands, I can just sit here and I can watch it come in. And if I click back into the home area, then you'll see that on top of the modules which I've created, all of the units from that previous module has been imported into this area. Now, one thing to make sure is that they're ticked or they're not ticked, depending on how I want to. But that is a particularly useful feature if you have taught this module in a previous semester and you don't want to go to the trouble of setting up the same structure, bringing in the same file, so on and so forth. You can basically grab all of that and import it automatically. And again, the way you do that is you go to settings and you go to import module content, or else on the home page, there might be an option over here on the right hand side to import existing content. So that, I'm aware, is a real kind of whistle stop tour of I suppose some of the main Canvas features. But as I mentioned, the intention there really is just to maybe try and help get you up and running with I suppose immediately being able to make use of your Canvas module, being able to offer files to students, being able to give them a bit of guidance and communication through the syllabus and through the announcements feature, making sure everything is published. And like I said, if you were teaching the module in a previous year, being able to pull content in from that previous academic year's module. To finish off, I'm just going to talk very briefly about some of the supports which are available in Canvas. The biggest support by far is the option for this, what we're referring to as Tier 1 support. Essentially, this is 24/7 support through telephone, through email, or through web chat that all CIT staff and students have access to within Canvas. Now, the way that you would access that, I mentioned it at the beginning of the session, is over here in this left-hand side Canvas kind of main menu. At the bottom of this, there is an option for help. And if you click on that, all of the options which would be available to you inside in Canvas are visible here. So you have the ability to web chat with Canvas support if you're a faculty or if you're a student. You have the ability to telephone them, and you also have the ability to submit a ticket, which is essentially an email. Or if you want to, you can email them directly at support@instructure.com. Now, these are paid Canvas support agents. They are meant to be available 24/7. So we would say if you have any difficulties in Canvas, if you're not sure how to do something, if something isn't working for you, if you're a bit confused by something, if a student is asking you to do something that you're not sure about, you can click into this help area at any time and speak directly to someone who works for Canvas. And because they work for Canvas, they know the system inside out. they can actually go into your module to take a look at any issue you might be having. So it really is a resource worth making use of, because essentially it means that you'll never be stuck in terms of how to do something in Canvas. And like I mentioned, they're available 24/7. So you can really tap into this at any stage. What we found most useful is the web chat. That is probably the quickest and easiest way of getting to talk to someone directly. And if you click on the, for example, web chat for Canvas support for faculty, you're just asked to put in your name, your email, what it's about, your role, and then you can usually select the perceived severity. And frankly, it's never any harm to go, minimum of the middle of that particular drop down, but maybe try not to go extreme critical emergency unless it really is just that. In addition to that, if you go to not cit.instructure.com, but if you go to tel.cit.ie, we have a huge amount of resources there, which you can make use of. So tel.cit.ie. And if you click into the remote teaching area, we have a range of different kind of Canvas resources available here. In particular, what might be of use to you is if you go into remote teaching downloads, there's a number of items inside there, which are kind of printable PDFs that you can use to help support your use of Canvas. Another feature is our Help Center, which we are updating all of the time and trying to keep as up to date as possible. And that is available at telhelp.eu.helpdocs.com. But again, probably a simpler way to remember is just to go to tel.cit.ie, and up along the top here, you can click into staff help articles. So all of that is designed to try and help support you in your use of Canvas. Finally, just a reminder that we will be providing a range of additional training sessions over the next couple of weeks, and those will be for Zoom and Canvas every week. So we will be providing a lot more training, not only around Zoom and delivering live classes, but also how you can use Canvas to communicate with students, to make content available to students, so on and so forth. So look, I'm aware that I kind of have gone well over my my intended time of 30 minutes. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to take those. If you want to use the Q&A feature, which is available here, or if you want to type into the chat box. Anybody watching over YouTube, please feel free to type into the live chat. But I am just going to stop sharing my screen so I can focus on any questions anybody has. And if you do have any questions, like I said, please do just type away. Okay, well, I'm going to take that as a sign that everybody's happy and there's nothing to worry about. So, look, all that's left to do is say thanks very much, everyone, for coming along to the session. Like I said, we'll put the recording up on tel.cit.ie and elsewhere. And other than that, I hope everyone stays safe, has a good weekend, best of luck, and we will most certainly talk to you again. So, thank you very much, everyone.